I told you I was going to go over this in national debt and the state aid. I'm actually going to go over state aid last, and the national debt I'm going to do in this section right here. Because the national debt, the candidate for Republican, in the Republican Senate race in Illinois, he pulled out something like this, right? Only it was kind of cherry picked. Then he pulled out something like this, which is a graph. This, which is a graph, okay? But it was kind of cherry picked too, because he was talking about how the national debt was doubled. Now, I want to go over the debt. I want to go over the national debt, right? Which is what I said. You guys can go over the GDP, all right? I'll give you, if you want, I'll give you the URL. You can go check it out yourself. But you probably can get that information just by having one of your cabinet members go ahead and do it. Okay, in the national debt. Let's go back. Let's first find out. Let's get an idea of the national debt. The national debt in 1945 under FDR was at $3.2 trillion. Between FDR through Truman through Ike, first term, it went down to $2.5 trillion. During Ike's second term, during Dwight Eisenhower second term, through Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, and Jimmy Carter, it basically averaged out on a yearly basis at $2.5 trillion. Now, this is where the national debt began to double and triple. It was at $2.5 trillion for 35 years, at $2.5 trillion for 35 years. Then, under Ronald Reagan, in his first year, he added $99 billion to the national debt. His second year, he added $168 billion. In his third year, he added $214 billion. In his fourth year, he added $252 billion. In his fifth year, he added $283 billion. You see how I keep saying added? In his in his sixth year, he added $179 billion. In his seventh year, he added $225 billion. In his eighth year, he added another $250 billion. Add. That came up to about $1.7 trillion to the national debt. That was at $2.5 trillion for 35 years before Ronald Reagan came in. Now, George Herbert Walker Bush, he came in and just blew Ronald Reagan's record away, his initial record away. He came in starting at $255 billion. That's what George Herbert Walker Bush started with. That's what he added the first year of his presidency. His second year, he added $376 billion to the national debt. In his fourth year, he added a whopping $432 billion. $432 billion to the national debt. In his fourth year, he added $399 billion. So he added over around $1.2 trillion, right, to the national debt. So $1.5 trillion to the national debt. Now, between the two of them, they added $3.2 trillion to the national debt. That's between Ronald Reagan and George Herbert Walker Bush, 12 years of president. And they all had those same trickle-down economics going with those tax breaks that didn't work, that added over $3.2 trillion. They pretty much doubled the national debt. They doubled the national debt. Now, along came a man by the name of Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton added $347 billion to the national debt. Then he added $281 billion the next year. In his third year, he added another $280 billion. In his fourth year, he added $251 billion. But during the course of adding all this debt, he was creating 23 million jobs. Where in the other ones, they were losing 23 million jobs or creating low-paying jobs. In the fifth year, he added $188 billion. Okay, he dropped down. He's dropping down consistently. He dropped down $70 billion from the last year of his first term. Now he dropped in his sixth year, he added $113 billion. In his seventh year, he added $130 billion. Slight increase. But then in his eighth year, he added only $18 billion to the national debt in his eighth year. Wow, that's the national debt. Now, let's look at some more here. George Walker Bush, first year, he had $113 billion. That'd be Ronald Reagan now. In his second year, he added $421 billion. That blew his father out. In his fifth year, he added $555 billion. In his sixth year, he added another $596 billion. In his sixth year, he added, in his fifth year, he added $554 billion. In his seventh year, he added $574 billion. Wow. In his eighth year, he added $501 billion. Did I get that right? Let me start over. In his first year, he added $99 billion. His second year, $421 billion. His third year, $555 billion. His fourth year, $597 billion. In his fifth year, $554 billion. In his sixth year, $574 billion. In his seventh year, $501 billion. And in his last year in office, he added a whopping $1,017 billion to the national debt. That's what the Republicans have done over the last 25 years. That's what the Republicans have done over the last 25 years. They have systematically quadrupled the original national debt. Yes. That national debt that was at $2.5 billion for 35 years, they in the last 25 years have quadrupled it. Democrats and this president did not double the national debt. In order for us to double the national debt should be at, well, according to the Republicans, if this doubling the national debt, would be at $22 trillion. It's only $13.5 trillion. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. But we didn't come nowhere near doubling the national debt like each Republican administration has done over the last 25 years. The numbers don't lie. And I just want to make clear about that. That's the national debt.